angry millionaire takes an unexpected action after his brother abandons the bride on their wedding day. That's how people in the back rows whispered it. Sharp, uneasy, almost afraid to say it too loud. The church was still full, the air stiff with shock, the bride standing frozen while guests shifted in their expensive suits. No one understood why the groom had walked out, or why his wealthy brother looked like he was about to tear the entire place apart. And yet, in the middle of all that silence, one small overlooked figure held the key to what would happen next. Before we start, tell us from which city are you watching from, and don't forget to drop your thoughts at the end. Enjoy the story. The protagonist's name is Elias Ward, a 27-year-old delivery driver from Queens, New York. He's the kind of man people overlook, soft-spoken, steady, never asking for more than what he earns. He grew up in a narrow apartment above a laundromat, raised by his grandmother, who repeated one phrase so many times it became the center of his life. Stand straight, even when you're tired. Elias carries that line with him everywhere, a small anchor in a world that keeps trying to push him down. Money has always been tight. Elias keeps exactly $6.25 folded in the back of his wallet, leftover change from the last meal he shared with his grandmother before she passed. He refuses to spend it. It reminds him that even cheap things can hold real weight. He uses the rest of his weekly pay to cover bills, metro rides, and discount groceries from a store where the fresh produce sign flickers in broken neon. He works long days, navigating alleys and apartment complexes, trying not to let customers' impatience wear him down. Still, he keeps his shoulders back, remembering the creed. Stand straight. Show no shame. Dignity doesn't cost a thing. Elias never expected his job would place him anywhere near the wealthiest families in Manhattan. He doesn't follow their news, doesn't care about their parties or scandals. His world is simpler. Get the delivery done on time, keep the company van running, and avoid trouble. But life has a way of twisting paths that were never meant to cross. And the job he accepted for a little extra overtime, a last-minute delivery to a high-end wedding venue, would pull him into a world that wasn't his. A world built on sparkling water, polished marble, and quiet judgments. And that is where everything begins to break. The wedding job wasn't supposed to be anything unusual. Elias had been asked to deliver a set of custom programs and emergency supplies to the venue after another driver called out sick. It meant an extra $60, money he desperately needed to cover a late utility bill before the power company sent another warning. He agreed without hesitation. For Elias, this delivery meant more than a paycheck. It felt like a small chance to prove himself dependable to his supervisor, who had been quietly hinting at cutting hours to save costs. One mistake could mean fewer shifts, and fewer shifts could mean missing rent. Fragile hope, but still hope. The moment he stepped into the luxury venue, he felt the divide immediately. Everything smelled of flowers he couldn't name, polished wood, and privilege. Staff rushed past him in tailored black attire, barely nodding. He clutched the box he carried, reminding himself to stand straight. If he could handle this job, smooth, clean, no conflict, he might secure steadier work. If he failed, he'd become just another replaceable worker in a city full of them. He didn't know, yet, that he was walking into the exact moment everything for this wealthy family was about to unravel. Elias arrived at the main hall just as guests were settling into their seats. He tried to slip in unnoticed, hoping to set the delivery box on the designated table and leave without trouble. But nothing about the moment was ordinary. There was a strange tension in the air. Anxious whispers, shifting feet, someone muttering that the groom was taking too long. Still, Elias focused on the task. He placed the box down carefully, checked the delivery app, and prepared to ask the event coordinator for signature. He never got the chance. A sudden burst of noise hit the hall, doors slamming open, a man storming out with his tuxedo jacket half undone. The groom, his face tight, angry, embarrassed. He strode past everyone without looking back. Then came the sound that froze the room, a soft, broken gasp from the bride, standing alone at the altar. Someone shouted, "Where is he going?" Another whispered, "He really left her." Chaos swept through the guests like a wave. The event coordinator, frazzled, red-faced, panicking, spun around and saw Elias standing near the front, the only person who looked out of place. She pointed at him sharply, her voice ringing across the hall. You were supposed to deliver the groom's emergency items. Did you mess something up? Did you hand him the wrong things?" Heads turned. Dozens of wealthy faces stared at him, confused, judgmental, irritated. Elias felt heat pooling in his chest. He shook his head. "Ma'am, I only brought the programs and—" "Don't lie to me," she snapped, rushing toward him. "He asked for a specific package earlier. If you gave him the wrong one, standing in a public trial he never volunteered for." A staff member approached him with a tight expression. "You need to wait outside until we sort this out," she said, as if he were a problem to be removed. Elias wanted to defend himself, shout, walk away, anything. But he remembered the stakes. One wrong reaction could cost him his job. He lowered his gaze, stepped aside, and let the crowd swallow him. He didn't see the wealthy man standing near the back, fists clenched, eyes fixed on him. Not with contempt, but with rising anger at what he was witnessing. His name was Grant Caldwell, older brother of the runaway groom and the so-called angry millionaire whispered about across Manhattan's business circles. He hadn't intended to watch the ceremony from the back. He'd only stepped there after a tense exchange with his father, trying to steady his breath before the vows began. But instead of peace, he'd witnessed chaos unfold from the perfect vantage point, far enough to see everything clearly, close enough to feel every crack in the room. When the doors burst open and his brother tore out, Grant felt the sting of failure hit first, not toward the bride, though she didn't deserve this, but toward the family legacy he'd spent years trying to clean up. His brother's recklessness was just another stain on a name that already carried too many. But then his eyes shifted to Elias. He saw the moment the coordinator chose him as the scapegoat. The way heads swiveled, almost eager for something smaller, easier to blame, than a groom running from his own vows. Grant recognized the expression on Elias's face. Shock, then restraint, then humiliation carefully swallowed. It was the look of someone who knew he couldn't afford to fight back. Grant had grown up watching people like Elias get crushed under the weight of situations they didn't create. His father used them as stepping stones. His brother ignored them entirely. Grant, meanwhile, had spent his adult life wrestling with the discomfort of benefiting from a world he disagreed with. He watched Elias attempt to defend himself, honest, quiet, firm, and watched it dismissed instantly. He noticed the worker's uniform, the delivery tag still attached to the box, the exhaustion in the man's posture. Elias wasn't part of this world. He didn't deserve to be dragged into the Caldwell family's disaster. Grant's jaw tightened. As the staff escorted Elias out, Grant's pulse began to rise. He felt anger, real anger, building in his chest. Not the theatrical kind his brother specialized in, but the simmering, heavy kind that meant something had gone too far. His father had always taught him a simple rule: protect the family above all else. But at this moment, Grant knew something else was required. Protect the truth. Protect the person who had been wronged. And for the first time that day, he realized he was about to break every rule the Caldwell name demanded of him. Elias had been shamed in front of dozens. Grant couldn't stand there and let it continue. Not this time. Elias waited just outside the hall, standing near a wall of towering white lilies that smelled far too clean to be real. His hands were still shaking. He kept repeating his grandmother's words in his head. Stand straight, even when you're tired. But the humiliation clung to him like damp air. The door behind him opened. Voices spilled out, accusing, frantic, spinning rumors out of nothing. Elias stared at the floor, hoping they would forget he existed, long enough for him to leave without more damage. Then a different voice cut through the noise. Stop. Firm, controlled, and carrying a weight that made every staff member freeze. Elias looked up as strong Grant Caldwell stepped into the hallway. Conversations died instantly. The coordinator's face drained of color. Grant, she stammered, we're handling— No, he said, you're not. He walked past her, straight to Elias. And for a moment, Elias wondered if he was about to be blamed again. But Grant's gaze held something else. Something sharp and unwavering. Did you give my brother anything? Grant asked. Elias shook his head. No, sir. I only delivered the box you requested. Grant nodded once. Then he turned back to the coordinator and the small crowd of onlookers who had followed to spectate the fallout. Then this man is not the problem, Grant announced. And unless someone wants to explain why you chose to humiliate an innocent worker in front of 200 guests, I suggest you apologize. The hallway went silent. The coordinator blinked, stunned. We didn't mean. Apologize, Grant repeated, the word colder. Elias felt every pair of eyes swing toward him again. But this time, the shift felt different. Not pity, fear of Grant, and guilt. The coordinator stepped forward awkwardly. I'm sorry. We were under pressure, and— That pressure didn't come from him, Grant said. It came from my brother, who made his own choice. Someone in the back whispered, he's taking his side over the family? Grant heard it. He ignored it. Instead, he looked at Elias. You're staying until I clear your name. Elias swallowed. Sir, I really just need the signature. Then I'll be out of your way. Grant shook his head. No. You deserve to walk out of here with your dignity, not under suspicion. The staff shifted uneasily. Apologies murmured. The tension pulsed through the hallway as if the walls themselves were waiting for someone to challenge him. No one dared. Grant placed a steady hand on Elias's shoulder, not claiming ownership, not pitying him, just grounding the moment. This ends now, Grant said. And just like that, the power in the room shifted. The wealthy looked small. The overlooked worker stood tall. And the Caldwell name, usually a shield for the privileged, had just been used for something completely unexpected. Defiance, truth, and a public line drawn that could not be erased. Grant barely had time to exhale before another door opened, this one quieter, heavier, carrying the weight of someone who expected the world to move aside for him. Edward Caldwell, the family patriarch, stepped into the hallway. His suit was flawless, his expression carved from the same stone as the family crest that hung in every Caldwell-owned building across Manhattan. What is this? Edward asked, his voice low, but sharp enough to slice through the room. Grant didn't flinch. I corrected a mistake. Edward's eyes moved to Elias, then to the cowering coordinator, then back to his eldest son. A public correction? In the middle of a crisis? Do you understand what perception means today? Grant held his ground. This man was blamed for something he didn't do. Edward's expression did not change. He is a worker. Workers absorb the panic so the event doesn't fall apart. That is their role. You know that. A few staff members lowered their heads, stung by the words. Elias clenched his hands, but said nothing. Grant stepped forward. No, their role is to work, not to be sacrificed for our family's incompetence. Edward's voice dropped colder. Your brother just humiliated us in front of the city. And instead of managing the damage, you lecture me about a delivery driver. Elias felt heat rise in his chest. Not shame this time, but anger he had no right to speak aloud. Grant didn't hesitate. Yes, he said, because integrity doesn't get suspended during a crisis. Edward stared at him for a long moment, the air tightening between them like pulled wire. You've forgotten what it means to be a Caldwell, Edward finally said. Grant replied softly but firmly. Or maybe I finally remembered what it's supposed to mean. And in that quiet hallway, surrounded by flowers, whispers, and fractured expectations, the true battle lines between legacy and conscience were drawn. The confrontation ended with Edward retreating back into the hall, his silence heavier than any shouted threat. Staff scattered in different directions, pretending to busy themselves with tasks that didn't exist. The moment the hallway thinned out, Elias stepped away from Grant, putting physical distance between them, as if the air itself had become too tight. You didn't have to do that, Elias said quietly. Grant turned toward him. Yes, I did. Elias shook his head. Not for me. Not like that. I don't need someone rescuing me in front of a crowd. You were being attacked, Grant answered, voice steady but clipped. And you couldn't defend yourself without risking your job. That doesn't mean you get to step in like I'm helpless. Grant frowned. Helpless? Elias, I wasn't. I know what charity looks like, Elias said, the words sharper than he intended. People like me get used to it. Strangers acting like saviors because they think we can't stand up for ourselves. Grant recoiled slightly, not offended, but surprised. That wasn't charity, that was justice. Elias's breath hitched with frustration. Maybe for you, but for me, every time someone steps in like that, it sticks. It becomes the only thing people see. A poor guy who needed saving. That's not what I see. You don't know me, Elias said. You saw one moment, one humiliation. Grant stepped closer. I saw someone being blamed because he was the easiest target in the room. I've spent years watching that happen to people who don't have power, and I refused to stand there and let it happen again. Elias looked away, jaw tight. Grant continued, softer now. If you think I was trying to make you look small, you're wrong. Elias let out a brittle laugh. You don't get it. In my world, dignity is all we have left. I can't lose mine, not even for the truth. Grant exhaled slowly. And in mine, dignity is optional, as long as the image stays clean. You shouldn't have to play by rules built to break you. Silence settled between them, tired, raw, unsteady. Elias finally spoke, quieter than before. I appreciate what you did, I do, but I can't owe you. People like me don't get to carry debts to people like you. Grant's expression softened. Then don't owe me. Work with me instead. Elias blinked. Work with you? On what? Grant hesitated only a moment. On cleaning up the mess my brother made. Elias felt his stomach drop. Why me? Because, Grant said, you were the only honest person in that hall. And though neither of them admitted it, the ground beneath their feet had begun to shift, pulling them into a reluctant, uneasy alliance neither had asked for. Grant didn't wait for Elias to accept. Within minutes, he had spoken to the coordinator, arranged a temporary clearance badge, and returned with a clipped explanation. The venue needed someone to help process the fallout, cancellations, refunds, guest direction, and Elias was now contracted support. Elias stared at the badge. "I'm a delivery driver, not an event worker. You're organized, calm under pressure, and not afraid to tell the truth," Grant replied. "That's more than I can say for half the people in there." Reluctantly, Elias followed him back inside. The room had changed. Guests milling around with uneasy expressions, whispers slicing through the air. Grant took charge of damage control, and Elias was assigned to help redirect guests, organize abandoned items, and coordinate communication between vendors who were now trying to salvage their schedules. It forced them into constant interaction. When a caterer panicked about wasted food, Elias stepped in and suggested a donation route to a nearby shelter. Grant backed him without question. When a group of irritated guests demanded answers, Grant handled the conversation, but glanced at Elias each time he needed clarity. Elias surprised himself with how quickly he adapted, tracking lists, smoothing tensions, offering solutions. Their differences were obvious in every detail. Grant drank sparkling water without thinking. Elias stuck to tap. Grant moved with quiet authority. Elias moved with practiced humility. Grant had been raised to expect obedience. Elias had been raised to earn respect. Yet somehow, the contrast made the work smoother, not harder. At one point, as they stood organizing a stack of abandoned gift bags, Grant said, "You're good at this." Elias scoffed. "No, I'm just used to cleaning up other people's disasters." Grant's reply was soft. "So am I." The truth hung there, unexpected, leveling. And for the first time, Elias wondered if they weren't standing on opposite sides of the world, after all. The tasks eventually slowed, leaving a quiet pocket in the late afternoon where the chaos thinned and the weight of the day finally settled on both men. They found themselves in an empty service hallway behind the venue, Grant loosening his tie for the first time in hours, Elias rubbing the tension out of his wrists. The muffled sounds of staff cleaning up echoed from a distance. For a moment, neither spoke. Elias broke the silence first. "Your brother, he just walked out." "No explanation?" Grant leaned back against the wall, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with physical effort. "He's been running from responsibility his whole life. My father protects him, makes excuses for him, calls it keeping the family image clean." He let out a dry laugh. "Image means everything. Accountability means nothing." Elias studied him quietly, noticing something he hadn't expected. Grant wasn't angry about the scandal. He was tired. Deeply, quietly tired. "You don't even look surprised," Elias said. Grant shook his head. "I'm not." Elias exhaled. "Must be nice, having the freedom to walk away from things without ruining your life." Grant's eyes lifted, sharp but not defensive. "You think I'm free?" Elias shrugged. "Money makes escape easier." Grant looked at him for a long moment, something unguarded flickering across his face. "Money is a cage too. Just prettier to look at." Elias frowned, uncertain whether he believed that. Grant pushed off the wall, pacing slowly. "I've spent my whole life being groomed to fix my family's messes. Every mistake my brother makes, I'm expected to cover it. Every scandal, I'm expected to redirect it. Everyone sees the money, but no one sees what comes with it. Responsibility without consent." Elias absorbed that. "You could walk away." Grant's jaw tightened. And leave employees without paychecks, projects unfinished, people depending on me. He shook his head. If I abandon any of it, they'll suffer long before my family does. It hit Elias then, an unexpected truth. Grant wasn't powerful because he was rich. He was trapped because he was needed. And Elias, poor, overlooked, easily replaced, was trapped because he could never afford to fail. Different prisons, same walls. Elias leaned against the opposite wall. So you don't get to choose your life, he said quietly. Grant met his eyes. Neither do you. Silence stretched. Not uncomfortable this time, but understanding. Elias finally said, maybe that's why today happened. We both got dragged into something we didn't ask for. Grant nodded once, slow and thoughtful. Maybe we needed it. The hallway felt smaller now, not because of tension, but because the distance between them, social, emotional, unspoken, had begun to shrink into something human. Not friendship, not alliance, but recognition. A turning point neither had expected, in a place neither belonged. Guests were returning to gather their belongings, murmuring with irritation about wasted time and ruined plans. Edward Caldwell stepped into the center of the hall, prepared to make a polished announcement, one that would smooth over the scandal, redirect blame, and restore the family's image before evening fell. Ladies and gentlemen, Edward called out, thank you for your patience. We ask that you remember this unfortunate situation stemmed from... Elias didn't mean to interrupt. He simply stepped forward to return a clipboard of updated vendor records. But the room turned toward him, and Edward's words sharpened instantly. Staff errors earlier today, Edward continued, gesturing subtly toward Elias. A familiar sting flared in Elias's chest. Before he could lower his gaze, Grant spoke. No, Grant said, loud enough to cut the room in half. There were no staff errors. My brother walked out because of his own choices, not because of this man. Dozens of eyes swung toward them, some shocked, some curious, some grateful. Edward's jaw tightened. Grant, this is not the place. It's exactly the place, Grant replied. He motioned toward Elias. He told the truth when others didn't. He stood straighter than most of us today. The room shifted, respect flowing toward Elias, like a quiet tide. For the first time all day, the power was his. By evening the guests were gone. The flowers wilted at the edges, and the echo of a ruined ceremony lingered in the empty hall. Elias stepped outside onto the church steps, the same place he had been ordered to wait, humiliated and powerless only hours earlier. Now the space felt different. Not larger, not grander, just honest. He reached into his wallet and touched the folded $6.25, the last reminder of his grandmother's quiet strength. He hadn't spent it today, but something inside him had shifted. Dignity hadn't been taken from him. It had been witnessed, defended, and restored. Grant joined him with a simple nod. No speeches, no apologies, no grand offers, just presence. The board wants to meet tomorrow, Grant said. They're demanding consequences for what I said. And what will you tell them? Elias asked. The truth, Grant answered. For once. He extended something toward Elias. A signed receipt, the only thing Elias had asked for since the moment he arrived. But tucked behind it was a second paper, an official notice confirming the venue had cleared him of all wrongdoing, publicly and permanently. Not charity, not payment, just fairness. Elias accepted it with a quiet thank you. The day had started with abandonment. It ended with accountability. And that was enough. Some stories don't end with perfection. They end with people choosing to do the harder thing, the honest thing, when no one is watching. Elias walked away that night, with his dignity intact. And Grant walked away with a clearer sense of who he wanted to be. No applause, no spotlight, just two men leaving a broken wedding a little less broken themselves. If this story moved you, leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories just like this.